Is it time to just sell your crypto and walk away? I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing with my portfolio today and historical context for previous market crashes. We're going to look at Black Monday from 1987 and look, was buying the next day on the Tuesday, was that your best bet? Also, what do the recoveries look like and when should you scale back in? And the markets are in so much turmoil, they're calling it Black Monday 2.0. So if you don't know what Black Monday is when the market took a huge nosedive in 1987. So we're going to look back at what happened in the following days after that Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the weeks, and the months later, and was it a good time to buy equity? So Bitcoin battles everything from a death cross to record low sentiment as U.S. trade tariffs wreak havoc across the global markets. So first thing we're looking at is TA. We're going to look at this Bitcoin death cross. So the death cross bringing 2021 highs into play. And this typical bearish signal involves the 50-day simple moving average crossing below its 200-day equivalent. And you can see right here. So we're going to go into the charts. And the first chart we're looking at is from Joe. Joe is saying the last two death crosses for Bitcoin have been bullish. We're going to dive in a little bit harder. But you can see right here, perfect time to get into the markets. In fact, it was actually the very bottom was that day of the death cross when the red first dropped below the yellow line. And we go to the next picture that he has loaded up here. Also, very, very close to the exact bottom. The exact bottom looked like it was just a handful of days before this period right here. So diving in and doing a little bit more of a close look on the death cross. So these are the two death crosses we were just looking at. This is the one a couple days, a handful of days before this period, literally the perfect day to buy Bitcoin. We go to the previous death cross before that. The day of the death cross was the exact bottom. So the day of the death cross, great day to get into the market. And we go look at the other two that we have fired up here. This death cross, also the day that it happened, within 2 days of the bottom for Bitcoin. So very, very close time for the perfect entry for Bitcoin. And if we look at the final death cross in a bullish environment, the day that it crossed within about a week and a half of the actual bottom. Now this one a little bit different because this was March 2020. This is the COVID crash. So the crash happened, then we had the death cross, whereas normally you have the death cross proceeding with the crash. Now, right now, we're at the death cross has happened. You can see here, 50-day has now fallen below the 200, and to me, this could potentially be the perfect entry point like it was in previous death crosses. Now, this isn't the only TA we're going to look at. Virtual Bacon said, I am buying Bitcoin at 75K. Either we bounce within a week or the 50-week simple moving average gets broken. So we went from looking at the 50-day simple moving average. Now we're going to look at the 50-week simple moving average. Every bull run has respected the 50-week moving average. So the risk reward here for buying Bitcoin is great. So let's go here. Let's click weekly. And then this green line is the line that we're going to be paying attention to. And then this has been respected this entire bull run. Looks like we are wicking into the 50-week moving average a third time. This bull run happened here, now it's happening a third time. The previous bull run had something pretty much similar here. Before we got to the top, Bitcoin also wicked into the simple moving average 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And these are weekly candles. And then later on, Bitcoin would then put in its all-time high. Looking from the third cross into the simple moving average, that happened 112 days later. Now, important note, I'm pointing these out in bullish environments. If we do break down below, it could be a lot worse. But looking at the daily, these death crosses have happened in pretty much bullish environments. And I think right now, we could still be hanging on to a bullish environment, although by the skin of our teeth. Now, next thing we're going to be looking at here from this article is Black Monday 1987 or COVID-19 repeat. And so Mike Vandepop has a pretty good post right here. A 10% dip in 2 consecutive days has only happened 4 times in history. October 1987, Black Monday, October 08, March 2020, and then just now in April 2025. 87 and 20, it marked the bottom. In 2008, it was 1 month away from the bottom. So now let's look at Black Monday 1987. So the S&P 500 futures has fallen about 3% if it holds. Worst 3-day period in stock market since Black Monday 1987. History never repeats itself, but it does rhyme. Here's the story of what happened next. Now clicking on the chart, first thing you're going to notice, that was actually the bottom. This Monday right here was the bottom You see we kind of ranged a little bit lower, then started picking up from there. But let's zoom out a little bit and see what does this actually look at. So this is 1987 dip right here. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and Black Monday did create a little bit of a scare, but that was the lowest you could ever get into the stock market as far as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And you look at the dip right here, could potentially see a V-shaped recovery. It's like what we've seen previous times. Here, took a little bit longer, had a V-shaped recovery. Here, maybe it's a W-shape, but that's another V-shaped recovery. And then this one, our V-shaped recovery, took us about 70–80% of the way there, traded sideways before we would put in new all-time highs. And then in 2020, yet another V-shaped recovery. But what happened next with Black Monday? So you can see the stocks were never lower, but what was the catalyst needed? What was the catalyst to create a higher high for the markets? Well, it was simply the Federal Reserve. The Fed stepped in to quickly stabilize markets, slashed interest rates, and injected liquidity into the economy to restore confidence. Right now, Donald Trump is lobbying for lower interest rates, so we could be following the 1987 playbook. Their decisive action prevented a broader economic collapse, but it wasn't enough to erase the scars that the day left behind. So are we going to see increased liquidity? Are we going to see the Fed step in? Well, Polymarket has the odds. How many Fed rate cuts are we going to get in 2025? And just looking at the past week, we are seeing an increased likelihood we're going to get more cuts this year, meaning it does look like the Fed is going to step in. The two major increases we're seeing on this chart is the red line and the purple line, and that's going to be 4 rate cuts or 5 rate cuts. And the odds for 5 rate cuts is essentially tripled. It's gone from 5% to about 15%, spiked as high as 16%. And the odds of 4 interest rate cuts is also up, dipped as low as 13% a week ago, and you can see it spiked as high as 20%. So those odds have almost doubled.
I want to give a quick shout out to LBank Exchange. It is my favorite exchange to get all of the latest trading pairs, all of the hottest meme coins and altcoins. You can go to the spot trading, or you could do futures perpetual trading. And we have a link down below with the tutorial on the top of our page. Tons and tons of features here, 24/7 customer support, huge reach here, huge volume, millions of users, and they have over 200 countries and regions covered. So go ahead, open up an account, deposit some funds, and start your trading journey.
But now the $1,000,000 question, DZ, what are you doing with your portfolio? So I've talked about I had cash on the sidelines, and during the first part of the dip a couple weeks ago, I had deployed about 20%. Well, this morning I have deployed another 10%, so I still have about 70% of my cash on the sidelines, and if we crash tomorrow, I'll probably deploy another 10%. But let me tell you what I'm going to be deploying those in. So one of the coins I'm looking at is Aave. I'm only going to show you 2 altcoins that I'm actively buying besides Bitcoin. Aave testing a very important level. It is now testing the level right at Donald Trump's presidency. So this is November 4th. This is when Trump was elected. Aave was right at the level we're looking at right now, around $125. 125, 130, also going to be an important level because that was where we topped out at a resistance in the first quarter of 2024. And if you look at where it was previous cycle, Aave got as high as $675. So I'm expecting a lot of upside from this 125, 130 range. Part of the reason I'm bullish on Aave is just Donald Trump is working with them in close proximity. World Liberty Fi, this is Donald Trump's crypto company he runs with his sons. World Liberty Fi employs a lot of Aave's tech. World Liberty Fi Financial is using Aave, not technically a fork, but in exchange for using Aave, World Liberty Fi is offering 20% of its fees and 7% of its governance token supply to Aave. So if you expect Trump to act favorably towards DeFi, decentralized finance, I expect a lot of that to roll over into Aave, and it'll be bullish for Aave as well. Second altcoin I'm actually actively looking at is Chainlink. Chainlink is now retesting some multi-year support here. This is going all the way back to June 2023, so almost 2 years now, and we have just fallen out of support. And now, if I had to guess, we're going to trade within this range right here. Again, Chainlink just loves trading in ranges, just kind of what it does. And so I'd be looking at this area, just a potential entry point for Chainlink. Any Chainlink in this area, I think, is a good buy. Expect some maybe potential wicks down to the $10 range. I'm a huge buyer for Chainlink at 10, and I'm an even larger buyer under $10. Maybe you try to catch a wick down. When I looked here, this only lasted for about 6-7 hours. This one only lasted for a handful of hours too. So be careful, trying to wait for that cheaper entry. $10 Chainlink is a steal. So that's what I got for you. This recent crash has a lot of people freaked out, but I'm seeing a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel just looking at historical data. So I'm BZ, and hopefully I'll see you, your Bitcoin, and your strong alts at the top.